Hi, I'm Chris Stevenson from Calaveras Community Television. I am here today at the 2021 Ironstone Concours D'Elegance, which is a magnificent car show with over 300 entrants. It's a beautiful September day. There are cars in many different categories, from the very earliest cars into more of the later, like American muscle cars, like, you know, the Mustangs and the Camaros and everything in between. There are vintage trailers, there are race cars, there are motorcycles, you name it. There's food, there's music. It's a beautiful thing, and it's all to benefit FFA and 4-H. Come with us today. We're going to go through the Concours D'Elegance. Hi, we're at the Concours D'Elegance at Ironstone, and I'm here with Terry and Tom Machado, who came from Stockton with this beautiful Lincoln Continental. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's a 74 Lincoln, Mark IV.
Has not been restored.
Hasn't been restored. Got about 23,000 original miles.
When you say it hasn't been restored, what exactly does that mean? You haven't touched
the paint. It's the paint. Everything is as it came off the assembly line. Nobody's done anything to it since it's been made. That means unrestored.
So you have not left this like in the driveway. This gets garaged, I'm guessing, because like the paint is perfect.
Well, it's not perfect.
It
looks good
to you, and we appreciate that.
I can find all the ills.
Well, I don't see them.
But, no,
and this is.
And the reason we bought this car is we belong to a number of car clubs, and one of the car clubs was having a show called Phantom of the Opera Window, and so we had to buy this car because it has an opera window.
Yes, I see it. You know, it's the little details that the car owners have to tell you about that you wouldn't appreciate.
Yes, that's the reason, and we just happened to find one in California within driving distance, and that's why we bought her.
You told me this is the 24th time you've come to the Concours D'Elegance.
Yes, it is.
24th time we've shown.
Oh, yeah, true, that you've shown.
And the first car we showed here was a 1930 Model A enclosed cab pickup.
Wow, what happened to that?
It's in a box at home.
It's in storage.
So often you say, don't you wish you still had that car?
We still do. We haven't learned how to sell anything yet.
We keep all ours for some reason.
We haven't learned how to sell anything.
Well, you're smarter than the average guy then. So, hey, thanks for coming to the Concours.
Well, thank you for talking to us and appreciating Cecilia.
Okay, thank you. I'm with Norman Schwartz, who is from Lafayette, California, and you made it out to the Ironstone Concours D'Elegance with your 1903 Oldsmobile Runabout. The term runabout makes me snicker just a little bit. Tell me about this car. Does this thing actually run about?
It does. It'll go about 20 miles an hour.
See, that's what I meant, 20. That's pretty cool.
It is. And it probably feels like you're going 50 when you're going 20 in this car.
I can imagine. The steering wheel is not a wheel.
No, it's a tiller. It was typical for these very early cars, which was tiller driven.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of course, unique things about this because, you know, automobiles have changed so much in the 100-plus years since this was made in 1903, right?
Correct.
So one of the things is your gas pedal pushes down, not up, and I know you can't see that on camera, but it's an odd-looking thing. Is it difficult to drive because of the little idiosyncrasies?
No, it's not too difficult. You get used to it.
Don't make a mistake.
Yeah. You know, I'm fine in these cars because I'm used to them. My wife would like to have a side, more to hold on to,
yes,
and even a windshield, but that's not the way they came. In fact, this is exactly the way it came from the factory. And if you wanted a top or fenders, that was extra.
How much was this cost? How much did it cost new?
This car, as you see, it was $650 new, which is about in the $20,000 range today.
Yeah, it's still not cheap for your average guy back then.
No, not at all.
It's chain driven, I see. There's a brake and an emergency brake.
Yes, that's correct. It's always nice to stop these old things.
True. What are the other unique aspects of this car that we should know about?
Well, it's kind of unique because of the frame. You can see the springs the suspension and the frame are kind of all one.
Yeah, there's on each side, one leaf spring for the whole car.
Exactly. And the other thing, it's just a one-cylinder, 5-horsepower engine that sits basically under the seat. And that's what drives it.
Well, it's beautiful. Where's the gas tank?
The gas tank is in there with the engine. The gas and the water is in there. And the only other thing that's kind of semi-unique about this particular car is that it has special wheels on it. These are called staggered spokes, if you can see them.
Oh, yes, I see that.
It's very different than most cars where the spokes are all in one line.
Mm-hmm. Is there an advantage to that?
They were supposed to be stronger somehow, but who knows?
Yeah, well, they didn't break.
No.
They're looking good. Hey, congratulations. You won Best in Class for this beautiful antique automobile.
Ah, well, that's fantastic. We really appreciate it. It's, it's always nice to bring these out.
Yes, it's much appreciated. Now, are you having a good time at the concourse?
Oh, yeah. This is always a very enjoyable event. Lots of nice cars, lots of nice people. Mm-hmm. So it's always a good afternoon.
Okay, well, thank you. Norman Schwartz from Lafayette, who brought his wife and she didn't fall out.
Thank you.
Okay. This is Gail Coates, and this Concours D'Elegance is her baby. You started this how many years ago, Gail?
I started this 25 years ago, and I can't believe it's been 25.
It's going strong. It's a beautiful day. You have wonderful entries. Do you have a favorite?
No, I like all the old ones.
And they're almost all old. This is a fundraiser that is special to you. Tell me about that.
This is a fundraiser for agricultural youth education, primarily 4-H and FFA, but we do also support many scholarships. The State Fair Scholarship is the biggest one. Calaveras County offers a scholarship at their fair, and just getting people into agriculture.
How much money would you guess that you might have raised for FFA and 4-H over the years?
We know that over the years we're over $1 million now, but we're not sure just exactly what.
Not too shabby. And there are lots of different categories of automobiles and vintage trailers and race cars and motorcycles. And how do you come up with the idea of what to include in a concours like this?
Well, I am very fortunate. I asked the gentleman to help me put together a car show. When I got the idea that I wanted a car show, I asked Chris Bach if he would like to help. And Chris Bach fortunately said he would, and he is very knowledgeable about car shows. He is chief judge down at Pebble Beach, which is a major car show in the United States. And so he has the knowledge. I don't. I'm just an admirer.
We're all admirers. But I noticed that the Pebble Beach Concours D'Elegance is a gold sponsor of the Ironstone event. So you have a nice relationship with Pebble Beach. It's not a competition really with them, is it?
No, it is not. And we just totally appreciate the support that they've given us, shared their knowledge, and come down and helped us. And they are just very, very nice, helpful people.
This is the 25th Concours D'Elegance. We missed one last year because of COVID, right? Was that going to be the 25th and now this is the 25th?
No, that was actually the 24th. So obviously then this is the 25th. And we wanted to do something. We wanted to maintain the continuity. And so we didn't have a car show due to COVID, but we did have a drive, and we invited 100 of our previous winners to come, and many more would have joined us, but we just wanted to keep it small, so we had a drive and went through some of the beautiful country we have around here. And that was one of the few, well, the only drive, I guess, that I've actually gotten to go on. And so I thoroughly enjoyed being a passenger and seeing some of the country.
You just drive around the back roads of Calaveras County. I guess you can't go too much of a back road because, the potholes and such, but you just make it a scenic ride?
Yeah, we lay it out ahead of time, and then we clear it with the highway patrol, and we're very legal and everything. But, we plan it. It doesn't just happen.
Good. So what's in store for us next year? Any big plans there?
No, not anything so far, but we will get together after the dust settles and we will plan something.
Okay. I want to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Coates. The Concours is devoted to her for bringing this to us, and I want to thank you so very much for everyone that watches this program, comes to the Concours, and knows anything about it. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Chris, and we certainly appreciate Calaveras County TV and their support. They've done interviews, and we are very, very appreciative of your support.
This is probably the most stunning car I might have seen in my life.
I like to think so.
This is J. Hubbard,
yes, sir,
from the National Car Museum.
National Automobile Museum.
Thank you, National Automobile in Reno.
Yes.
And you have brought this stunning, magnificent piece of art to us. You got to tell us all about it.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the folks from Ironstone for inviting us to bring this magnificent automobile. What we have here is a 1938 Phantom Corsair. Don't bother looking it up because it's the only one out there. It's basically a custom-built automobile. It was designed by and built for Rust Hines of 57 Varieties Fortune.
The ketchup.
Yes,
company.
exactly, yes. Rust was the black sheep of the family, if we can say that.
That's the color of the car?
It's the color of the car, yes. Now, Rust was, he was not interested in the culinary arts, so he moved from Pennsylvania to Southern California and became a nautical architect, basically designing high-end yachts. And at the time, successful as he was in family fortune and such, he owned a 1936-7 Cord automobile, an 810 sedan, but it was not quite flashy enough. So he designed this thing on a cocktail napkin using his own talents, and then took his drawings and a couple of aerodynamic models that he made to Bowman and Schwartz along with his Cord. They basically stripped the 36 Cord of everything except the drivetrain and the instruments, threw that away, and built this car up from whole cloth, basically. It's ground up a full custom automobile. Somewhere over $20,000 in 1938 to build this machine.
Was this a prototype in order to maybe put this car into production, and that never happened? Was that the...
Well, excuse me. Yes, Rust had dabbled with the idea of building a limited production of these machines for his friends and such as. There was a brochure made, lots of goodies like that. Unfortunately, it never happened. Rust met an untimely end in 1939. And I think that's what finally put an end to all those dreams.
That would do it. So what are the most interesting characteristics about this car? Because I'm guessing there are a ton of them.
Well, we can start from the tire prints and work our way up. Okay. But basically, it's the aerodynamics. I mean, probably the most stunning part of the machine to start with is the aerodynamics. I mean, you cannot find a machine that was built to be more slippery than this in those years. But it's the basics on the automobile are it's a Lycoming 288 cubic inch flathead V8 mounted backwards in the front end, and the transmission extends forward, as this is a front-wheel drive automobile using all the Cord components. So front-wheel drive, V8 power, has a 4-speed transmission, and if you get a picture of that a little later, it has a very small gear pattern. Sits right up next to the steering column. It was a vacuum electric shift system. Really futuristic for Cord in the middle 1930s. Just 2 fingers, and then it does it all by itself.
Why haven't we gone to that in this day and age?
And nobody likes to shift for themselves anymore, I think, is the problem on that one. Everything's automatic. Manual transmissions are becoming a thing of the past. But
it's true.
That's a whole other subject.
Okay.
So anyway, the automobile then, because of its narrow Cord drivetrain, to get around the wheels and get this aerodynamic effect, he had to widen it all out. So the front seat will seat 4 individuals, and number 4 sits on my left. So I'm actually more in the middle of the automobile when I'm trying to drive it. Styling-wise, it becomes a real problem to get this look. It's very hard to see out of, so it becomes an issue that way.
Well, it's just spectacular. Is this in a class for competition at the Concours?
No, we were invited by the folks at Ironstone to exhibit and to show off the car. Basically, we're not in condition. It's never been restored, so it's really not in the condition to compete against a fully restored automobile. So we're just here to exhibit and share the automobile with the public.
And still, you are going to get a ton of attention for this car. You are going to be hoarse by the end of the day. I guarantee you, my friend.
It happens.
All right. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Hey, look at me, it's Chris. I'm in an Amphicar with Todd Darling, who owns this car. In fact, Todd was telling me he was the first Amphicar at the Ironstone Concours D'Elegance. How did that happen?
We bought the car, and I got a hold of the Kautz family and told them that I wanted to drive it on their lake, and they thought I was a little bit crazy. And I sent them a video of the car, and they said, well, we can do one better. And they had their grounds crew put in a ramp for us. So the first year we had 4 of them up here. For a donation to their charity, we would take you for a ride in an amphicar. And the first year we brought in a couple $1,000s for them, and I said, okay, we'll have to come back again.
Does this car have a propeller?
It's got 2 propellers in the back, and your steering is controlled by your front wheels. They act as your rudders. So.
And who makes the amphicar?
Amphicar.
How about that? Amphicar makes the amphicar. Look, folks are waving. You're a big hit.
Yeah, we make everybody smile when we're out on the water with it.
Now, I'm guessing there are seals that are involved around the doors and such. And is it difficult to maintain the seals to keep it seaworthy?
No, as long as you keep them moist, it's pretty good. We don't let them dry out a whole lot. 3 years ago, I did have a little trouble with one of my seals on the steering column. It ruptured and ended up waist deep in water in the car. It kind of looked like the old Doris Day movie where she drove the car through the car wash.
Was that the time? You told me that you had sort of an interesting passenger at that time. Is that the time?
Yeah, that would be the head judge from Pebble Beach's wife.
That was bad.
Well, she's dead now.
But it wasn't your fault.
No.
How fast will this car go?
Okay, they were known as the 770, which meant 7 knots on the water and 70 miles an hour on land. But they're more of a 555. They're powered by a Triumph Herald engine.
You told me once that a guy pulled up to you at a stoplight with a Porsche. This is a good story.
Yeah, I stopped at a stoplight in downtown Sacramento, and this guy in a very nice new Porsche pulled up, and he says, "You want to race for pinks?" And I said, "Sure, but I get to choose the route."
And did he understand that?
Not really.
This is beautiful. Wow. Well, I wish you luck, Todd. Todd Darling with the Amphicar. It's a beautiful thing, and I hope you keep all the water out from the floorboards.
Yes, and if anybody's looking to go for a ride in one, they can go to Walt Disney World. They have 15 of them there at the lake at Buena Vista.
He wants us to go to
and it's $120 for a 20-minute ride for 2 people.
And you're less expensive than that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll just do it for a beer.
Or 2. All right, thank you, Todd.
You bet.
That was the highlight of my day. Absolutely, hands down. Thank you so very much, Todd. I've never been in an amphicar before.
Well, you're one of a few then. And, your day's not over because we have a tradition with the amphicars. When you lose your virginity in an amphicar, you get a rubber duck.
No.
So here's your rubber duck to prove that you are no longer a virgin in an amphicar.
It's true. I'm no longer an amphicar virgin. Thank you so much, Todd.
Enjoy your duck.
This is my new friend, Chris Roth. We share a name, Chris, so you're my friend.
Awesome.
And you have a car I don't know anything about. I've never even heard of it. Okay, tell me about, what is this car?
This is a very rare car. They made 3 of these the first year. They made about 500 the second year, but it's called a Woodale Wildfire. It was made in Downey, California, and this one was one of the 3 prototypes they started with.
Excellent. Wildfire is a great name for a car too, especially since it's red. But you told me there's a little story about the color of this car.
Yeah, they were really trying to get this to go with Willys as their founder.
Willys being the Jeep company, right?
Absolutely. And so it's got F-Head 6 Willys, trans, all the suspension is off of a Willys. And so basically they took it out there to try to show this car at the Motorama in 52 and all over the place. But they showed this thing so many times, they would paint it and then show it and paint it and show it. So when we bought it, it was white on the outside and then yellow and then this red underneath the bottom.
Wow. So how did you decide to restore it to red?
Well, we just started restoring it and we found out that it had those colors under it. We thought it was white and we found the red underneath.
Well, it is beautiful. And I love how it's so sleek. Is this a coupe?
Yeah, it's a sports car. It's definitely a two-seater coupe, and it's meant to really show off fiberglass and what it can do with all of its curves.
It's beautiful. And it's small.
Yes.
You're not. Exactly.
People have told me that.
How do you get in it, and how well does it drive? And is it comfortable?
It's not comfortable for me, but I think if I was about 4 inches shorter, I'm 6'1", so if you're about 4 inches shorter and probably 100 pounds lighter, it would be a great ride. Yeah. But it's a fast car too. It's very light and it goes through the gears very quickly.
Did you drive it here from Thousand Oaks?
Oh, I trailered it here. That would be really treacherous on the 5.
Yeah, it's true. Plus, these are works of art, aren't they? And they're your babies, and you just don't want to a tire to blow and have this thing roll.
I want to get here in one piece mentally.
It's true, and it's beautiful white walls.
Thank you.
Very sleek. It's immaculate condition. The interior is spotless. I'm just really impressed.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Are you enjoying the Ironstone Concours?
I love it. This is my second time here. Last time I was hooked after I saw the Anthem cars and the racetrack and everything it has to offer. Wonderful show.
Oh, excellent. Do you have other cars?
I do. We have a collection of 13 cars.
Get out. You need to bring them all, don't you?
Well, I have 13 years of trips.
Yeah, we can do it that way. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chris Roth, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm here with Frankweiler, who owns a 1934 Ford Phaeton. How do you pronounce it?
Phaeton.
Phaeton. And what does that mean exactly, to be
Well,
a Phaeton?
basically it goes back to the old coach days when you had horse-drawn carriages and they had what's called a high flyer, would be a little 2-seat, that would be a roadster. And then when they had the 4 seats, they were Phaetons. They were canvas top open carriages. So that's where it came from. In 1934, Henry Ford made about 650,000 cars. Only 3,500 were Phaetons, 1 out of 200. And he made about 3,200 roadsters. Now, they differ from the other cars, the steel-bodied 4 doors, 2 doors, coupes are all steel-bodied. The Phaetons and roadsters have a wooden framework with steel wrapped around them. So they basically are wooden body cars like the early ones were made. And they actually, the last Phaeton was 1936.
No kidding. It's a beautiful car, and you said you restored it down to bare metal.
Yeah, we took it down to the absolute bare frame, took all the parts apart, and then just started making sure that everything was exactly the way Ford made it in 1934, painted it the correct kind of color, and then the springs and everything and the running gear. Completely rebuilt the engine. They got Babbitt bearings, had to be repoured. Anyway, most of these cars you go from ground up. They call it a ground up restoration.
And you told me it went down all the way to the original types of rivets and bolts.
Oh yeah, all of the bolts on this car are exactly Henry Ford bolts. They weren't like the modern day bolts. They were steel bolts that Henry made.
I gotcha. And all of your hard work is paid off, ladies and gentlemen. He's won best in class at the Ironstone.
A couple of unique things about this car. The gear shift knob is from the 1934 Chicago World's Fair, and Henry was making them and passing them out to try to sell cars in 1934. And the wood grain dash, they actually did the wood graining at the World's Fair in 34 to show them how they did that. And that hood ornament is a Greyhound. Now, that is actually the marquee of the Lincoln. Ford bought out the Lincoln Motor Car Company in the early 20s. And in 1934, he decided to offer an auxiliary or accessory hood ornament with a Greyhound on it. Well, immediately all the Lincoln owners were saying, wait a minute, why are you putting our marquee on a cheap Ford? And they complained so much that they actually pulled the accessory off the market.
But so you got one.
I got one. Only the first 6 months of 34 were they available. Then I got one.
It's beautiful. Congratulations on best in class.
Yeah.
Frankweiler from Sunnyvale.
Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, California.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
I'm here with Vic Rowe, who's from Tulare, California, which is between Fresno and Bakersfield.
Correct, right through the middle of the area there. 99 runs right through the middle. So.
And thanks for bringing this car. This is and I've got to read it. It is a 1912 Kessel Car 450 semi-touring. Right. How long have you had it?
About 30 years.
And what was it like when you got it?
It was a fairly solid, unrestored car. It was restored at the high school auto shop by students.
No. And you were the shop teacher, I'm guessing.
Yes, it was done to Pebble Beach standards.
Yeah.
And it was shown nationally initially, and won awards all over the world, the western part of the country, because of the quality of work the kids did.
And the students are very proud of that, I'm sure.
Sure.
Did you give them like credit somewhere?
Actually, there was a vocational program. The guys that did the car wound up going in their own business and did very well. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so that's so unique. I told you earlier that I had interviewed the gentleman with the 1903 Oldsmobile, and this is a 1912. Cars have come a long way since 1903 to 1912. Tell me about this car.
Well, the 1903 Oldsmobile had a top speed of about 25 miles an hour. This one has a top speed of about 70.
Nice.
And the Kessels were a high-end, expensive car. They were semi-custom. This is a one-off. It was the only car ever made exactly like it because it was a custom build.
Is it an American-built car, and where were they built?
Built in Wisconsin. It's a very high quality. For the people that are mechanical, it has 400 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, 4-bolt rods, 4-bolt mains, pressure oil. It's a quality automobile. It has a 4-speed transmission with an overdrive. Pretty advanced for 1912.
That's amazingly advanced for 1912. Hey Vic, tell me about the horn.
Well, these are a bulb horn. Unfortunately, the reed is broken at this time, but you squeeze the bulb and it goes honk normally. The controls, this is emergency brake. This is for the 4-speed transmission, the shifting. This was the last year the Kessel used the outside shift, and they went to inside. Last year's the right-hand drive, and the gas lights.
Oh, yes.
This has acetylene gas lights.
I see that this is the gas light, right?
This is an oil light, actually.
Oh, and the front one's a gas light.
Or acetylene gas.
Wow, of course, it's 1912.
Right, and you light it with a match. Real
Carefully.
Really high tech, light it with a match.
Yes.
But they work, and the Kessel went to electric lights the next year. But this is a changeover era for cars, and cars are advancing very quickly at that time. And right after this cars, they went to the V8 engines and things that are much more advanced than the big 4-cylinders. This is a 400 cubic inch 4-cylinder, and later on they were using 8-cylinders that were about the same size.
Okay, how's it drive?
It's a little challenging because it cruises nicely at 60 to 70 miles an hour. It has 2-wheel brakes.
You don't get too close.
No, you have to be careful.
Yes.
So we like to drive more like to drive at 40 or 45, more in keeping with the braking system. But the car is very high quality, very docile as far as it's quality car.
Yeah. Do you trailer this car a lot, or do you drive it?
We trailer it to meets like this because it's not really freeway friendly. Modern freeways, they like you drive 70, 80 miles an hour, and it's a little bit on the safe reach of this car. So we trailer it to meets, but we have driven it in every western state, across the Continental Divide and back on its own power.
Nice.
So it's not a hangar queen. We've worn out a set of tires on it. It's on a second set of tires.
Good for you.
So it's a roadable car.
Excellent. Well, I congratulate you on a magnificent automobile, and thanks for coming to the concourse. You having a good time?
We have a wonderful time. We've been here for 12 years now. We bring a different car every year, and we enjoy it. The one thing I like about this car, of course, it's quality, but it's not stuffy.
True.
And that's a big deal to me. Yeah. You're comfortable here. They treat you well. It doesn't have that stuffy, I'm better than you atmosphere. Everybody's equal, and we're having a good time.
Excellent. Impressive. And thanks. This is Vic Groh from Tulare. Here with Bill Brooks, who's from Santa Cruz, and this is a 1960 Mercedes 220 SE.
SE, and the SE means that it's fuel injected.
From 1960.
They made this car for 3 years, 58, 59, and 60. And the 59s were just an S because they had carburation, whereas 60 was SE, which is fuel injected.
It's spectacular. How long have you owned it?
Well, I just bought it almost a year ago out of a museum where it sat for 20 years, and it took every bit of the time from when I bought it to today to refurbish it and get it up and running and everything working again so it could be driven.
But because it sat for 20 years, mechanically it wasn't drivable?
No, none of the gauges worked. It looked pretty, but you open the hood and the motor didn't run. So we had to put all new tires on it, all new brakes, rebuild everything under the hood so the motor would run good. I set all the gauges out and had them refurbished. And come here, I'll show you something in the back.
Okay, follow us, camera. What are we looking at?
We're looking at luggage from Belgium.
Luggage from Belgium.
When you bought it?
I know.
Are you on?
Yeah, he's got his hands on his head because we can't really do that.
Okay.
But we'll go back and continue. Okay. So Bill, you were telling me about the luggage.
When you bought these cars new, they would ask if you wanted fitted luggage in the trunk. And this car didn't have it when I got it out of the museum, but I searched online and I found the company was still in business after 60 years. I contacted them and asked them if they could make luggage for this car like they did 60 years ago. And the guy says, sure, I've got the patterns. I'll make it. So we had the fitted luggage and it works great. So,
wow, that was serendipitous.
Yeah.
The wood grain dash is just amazing. We'll have to get a separate shot of that, but just spectacular.
The wood grain is done by a company in San Diego, and what they do is they take all the wood apart and then sand and finish the wood underneath and put the veneer back on, and then they have to put it in a vacuum chamber to do it so it pulls down real tight.
I gotcha.
And it's quite hard to do, and luckily there's still somebody around doing it.
And this is a convertible?
A convertible, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to pull the top down,
No,
but it looks like the kind of car that maybe, not Doris Day, who was a more elegant movie star might drive.
Well, these cars were popular in Hollywood in their day, but they only made 1,200 of these. So after 60 years, there's not too many around.
Yeah.
But they're a good running car. I drove it up here from Santa Cruz, which was about 160 miles, 60, 65, 70, all the way up.
You get a lot of looks on the highway?
Well, you try not to because people pull up next to you and slow down and it's not safe. So
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming over to Santa Cruz. It's a beautiful Mercedes.
You're welcome.
This is Wayne Barnes, who lives in Auburn, and he takes care of Duesenbergs in San Francisco. Sounds like a great life.
It's a great story.
But you brought us a beautiful one here. This is a 1930 Duesenberg J. Tell us a little bit about that.
This car is part of the collection in San Francisco at the Academy of Art University. So we have about 175 cars that we use for students that can have inspiration in our new car design department. So we have 3 Duesenbergs right now, this being one of them.
It's spectacular, and I didn't know such a university or such a program existed.
It's a great program. The school has been in existence since 1929, still family owned. The director of the university, Lisa Stevens, can make quick decisions to let the school grow with what's going on. And so she was instrumental in putting together this automotive design program. And it's headed by Tom Machado, the gentleman who did the Mazda Miata for Mazda. It's a great program.
Wow.
We also have a restoration school, and we have students that are enrolled in that find out that they enjoy the hands-on stuff as much as they do the drawing.
I can imagine. Duesenberg is an American car, right?
Sure. Indianapolis, Indiana.
And there are only so many of them that were made.
We listened earlier to Randy Ema, who represented 3 of these cars here. He said that there were 371 still existing of the low 400s total production of the Model Js, which started in 1929 and ran through 35.
And I understand that these cars were built to be top of the line.
They were.
Yeah.
Well, the history with Duesenberg is they built race cars first. They were building the race car chassis. They won at Indianapolis, and then they were talked into building or at least having road-going cars. So then the coach builders, this one happens to be a Murphy, the body is built in Pasadena, but the chassis comes from their plant in Indianapolis.
I love how it's called the Murphy, because you're in Murphy's, California.
We brought it because of that.
That's great. Tell me about some of the interesting features of this car. Like, I noticed that on these Duesenbergs, they have what look like headlights in the back of the car. That's interesting.
Yeah, they are a large light. It's the biggest part of that light is the backup light. But in the light, you'll also notice where it's written out stop. So the red part will illuminate stop. And then, of course, when you're in reverse, you have quite a bit of lighting to the rear.
I got it. Beautiful lines, beautiful condition. What a great paint job. I mean, it's just so sleek. It's a movie star car, isn't it?
And I believe it was Dolores Del Rio, from my understanding, was the first owner. It was given to her by the gentleman who actually designed the Academy Award. Yeah, this is all learning today. We learned a lot today from Randy, who's the guy who knows the history of these Duesenbergs.
Excellent. Can you drive it? Do you drive it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we drive it.
How does it feel?
It's a luxurious car. We have 175 cars in the collection, so I've driven all of them. And you can tell a difference between, at that time, what a Ford or a Buick or a Chevrolet or a Duesenberg was. And you could see why people spent a lot of money on these.
Yeah. How much was one of these new?
I think the chassis was $10,000 without the body. Then you had to have the coach builder, whether it was, I think that's a Brunn body, this is a Murphy, and I think that's a Murphy also. And so those bodybuilders, it would be up to the individual person what they wanted included in their car. So
you could say, I don't want the suicide doors and give me the running boards that don't slope so much or whatever it may be.
Well, that's right. So the coach builders really were the same guys that were building coaches for horse-drawn carriages. And then they saw that changing, so they got into the bodybuilding business for the manufacturers of the chassis. So you could do it on a Cadillac, a Packard. It wasn't only Duesenberg. But the higher end cars, people wanted individualized. So that's why you had a coach builder. Right. You pick out what you want, what color, what interior fabrics. Yeah.
Wow. And it looks like you spared no expense on these cars. Really a magnificent job. Thank you.
And thank you very much for interviewing us.
I'm here with Bill Bennett with a race car, because there's a race car class here at the Concours D'Elegance. And this is a race car that actually drove in the Indy 500. Tell me about the provenance of this car. This is amazing.
This car is a 1911 National. National was an automobile company based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And the founder of National Automobile Company was also one of the founders of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So in 1911, when they ran the inaugural Indy 500, this was one of the entrants in the car. Or excuse me, in the event, the car was. Anyway,
how did it place?
The car finished 7th with Charles Mertz driving, and the car continued to race until about 1920 in various configurations. And the car was discovered in Northern California in the early 50s. And
was it like a barn find, or was it in good condition?
It was a barn find. Wow. And they drug it out of the barn. It did not look anything at all like it looks now. But under all the modifications and everything, the car still was in this shape.
And how fast will a car like this go? Because it doesn't look like it'll go more than maybe 40.
Well, we took it back to Indianapolis. It's been back there on several occasions, and they do have a vintage race event back there, and they allowed these early cars to go out on the big track, the big 2.5-mile oval, and the car was clocked at over 100 miles an hour.
Wow. But, all right, how does it handle when you're going 100 miles an hour?
It shakes a lot. I was not the one driving it, but yes, it's quite a handful. The engine in the car is a 450 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine. So it's a very low speed engine as far as revolutions per minute, but it has a lot of torque, and because of the gearing and the size of the tires, it develops enough speed to be out on the big tracks.
So you told me that you were the mechanical genius behind this car. You didn't say genius, but I will.
No,
but
I'm far from a genius.
Okay. What are the challenges in keeping a car like this running?
Really, the challenges are, well, as far as finding parts, that's probably the biggest challenge, but in the other side of the coin is you just know you're going to have to build whatever you need, so you have that frame of mind going in. the hardest part is explaining to people that yes, this is an original car. Yes, it has its original engine. We haven't modernized it. Everything is as it was in 1911. And we want to keep it this way.
I noticed that your helmet is of the 1911 style too. Does that give you any protection? Try not to wreck.
You really don't want to be upside down in one of these cars. These cars do not have seat belts in them. As a matter of fact, if this car is in a crash, you want to get away from it. Almost like a motorcycle. You don't want to be tangled up with the car.
Bill Bennett, ladies and gentlemen, with the what year?
1911 National.
1911 National, 7th in the Indy 500. I'm here with Sam Chastain from McCollum Hill. I was wondering who the local guys were here at the Concours D'Elegance, and I found one, and wouldn't you know it, he owns a dragster. So Sam, tell me about this dragster.
It's a 1971 car. It was a one-season car. It only ran the 71 season. 3 fellows from Salt Lake City owned the car, and it was really successful. It was a real hard charger. Qualified at all the major NHRA national events that year. Won the Night Fire Nationals up in Boise, Idaho that year. It was in a garage in Salt Lake where it had been parked for some 20-odd years, and a guy called me and said I needed to buy it. I had just stopped racing these things and had sold the car I had. And I said, no, I just sold one. At any rate, yeah, it took a couple of months, but I finally went over there and bought the car and brought it home. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. And it was before it became popular to restore these old cars. And so it sat in my garage for 4 or 5 years. The guy who had painted it was still alive. He was one of the 3 or 4 big painters in Los Angeles. He heard that I had the car. He says, man, I need to paint that thing again. And so that was the beginning. A photographer had shot it for a Hot Rod magazine. I got in touch with the guy, bought lots of 8x10 colors, and this was before digital. Had the body chemically stripped. We media blasted the car itself, and I hauled it down to Los Angeles, and it's a pretty right-on. You can look at the pictures from '71, and she's a pretty right-on copy of what it was by the original painter.
It does look beautiful. When you said you kept it in your garage, I thought you must have a very long garage.
Yeah, well, yes. It won't fit in a 20-foot garage. I think it's 22 and a half feet from the back of the chute packs to the front of the front wheels. But look at this way, it doesn't take up much width.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay, for those that know times in the quarter mile, what would this do?
Well, this was a mid-6s, mid-6-second car in the 220 to 230 range on the speed.
Wow, I really love this, and I love how you've painted the helmet the same color as the car.
Well, that's
and
part of a paint job. Yeah. When you got the car painted, you always left your helmet, and they had to paint the helmet as well.
It's beautiful. Any plans for it in the future? You're going to run this thing out on the dirt track?
Oh no! It doesn't have all the safety updates that it would require. It wouldn't be competitive because the cars today have engines that make more power, whatnot, because of 50 years of progress over that time span. But nonetheless, no, I don't want to break anything. It's expensive to fix them, and so I haul it around places like this. I did a Concours out in Colorado in August, and take it to some drag races and some car shows and whatnot.
That's nice. All right, so you barely fit in there. Okay, what I can say is we're not as young as we used to be. Is it tough getting in that thing?
It's tough getting in, and it's really tough getting out.
I'm going to give you a hand here. Okay, here, give me. Put her there, boss. All right.
Here we go.
You can take a trip
there we
to
go.
the top of the...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we'd like to welcome Anastasia Sharp to the stage for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Anastasia. Now I'd like to welcome Addie Ehrmans to the stage for the FFA Creed.
The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists. In the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work on a good farm, or to be engaged in other agricultural pursuits, is pleasant as well as challenging. For I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life, and hold an inborn fondness for those associations which even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly, with such knowledge and skill as I can secure, and in the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public interest in producing and marketing the product of our toil. I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining, in the life abundant and enough honest wealth to help make it so, for others as well as myself, in less need for charity and more of it when needed, in being happy myself and playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community, which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
Thank you, Addie. Now I'd like to welcome the 4-H students who will be saying the 4-H Pledge.
All right. All right. As a true 4-H member, I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health for better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Thank you, girls. So today we had some impromptu speaking contests that went on this stage with the 4-H students. Hopefully you were able to hear the kids speak. So I'd like to announce our junior speaker winner for the impromptus today, and that is Keenan. Keenan, can you come to the stage? Wonderful. And for our senior impromptu speaking contest, we have Anastasia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and now I'd like to welcome to the stage our very own Gail Coates to give a welcome. Come on up, Gail.
Welcome everybody to the grand finale of the 25th annual Ironstone Concours D'Elegance. I think we've had a great show today. We finally did turn on the air conditioning a bit. I hope you people are all enjoying that. And I think it's just been an exceptionally good show this year. Thank you. You know, you can't see it. I look out at the field of these incredible cars and just go, wow. And I will have to tell you, when the young lady sang the national anthem and I looked out at the people standing at attention with their hands on their hearts, I got goosebumps. These are very talented young people, and thank you all for that.
I'm not seeing Larry.
No, I don't see Larry either. I am looking for Larry Ringland. Is he anywhere to be seen yet? Okay, we'll send out a patrol and round him up. He is getting a car off the hayfield, and I don't know what the situation is. But anyway, I think it's time to make some awards, and we will do that. And I will tell you, the winners get a beautiful award that I'm sure they will treasure. But they also get a bag of cookies baked by the 4-H'ers. So at the end of the day, they probably treasure that more. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Next year, the concourse is September 24th. So be there. We will look for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. And we're going to get situated, and then we'll get the awards going in just a moment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's the time we start our awards. And we're going to go a little bit out of order today because we have a situation where we need to get one entrant on his way down the road. So we're going to present the Martin Swig Award as our first award. And here's our race car chairman, Wayne Craig, to do that.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you all for being here. The Martin Swig Award is after the late Martin Swig, who was a board member of ours for years. And if you know him, he is an icon in this collector car world. And he very much favored vintage racing, rally cars, and authentic cars from the period. And so we're proud each year to offer an award to a particular car that expresses that spirit. And this particular car has been hidden for almost 60 years, was discovered a year and a half ago, has been completely restored to original as a 1955 Pebble Beach road race car. It didn't win, but it raced in the Pebble Beach road races, so it's very much an authentic race car, restored by none other than Dick McClure, who wins the Martin Swig Award for this year. A 1955 MG Special.
All right, our first award in our antique class, a 1903 Oldsmobile Model R Runabout from Norman and Adria Schwartz of Lafayette, California. The oldest car in the show and the car that put Oldsmobile on the map. Beautiful car, a curved dash Oldsmobile. Adria, pardon me. All right, our next class that we'll move to is European Classics from American and European Classics from the 1920s. And our first place winner, a 1925 Lancia Lambda Model 4, a roadster by coachwork by Casaro, Paul and Victoria Tullius from Chico, California. One of the most advanced cars to come out of Europe in the mid-20s. Put Lancia on the map. Might add, it has just come fresh from winning at Pebble Beach. In the category for American Classic, American and European Classics, Open from the 1930s, the first race winner, 1932 Chrysler Custom Imperial Convertible Sedan, belonged to the Lorenzo Nannini family from Pine Grove. Beautiful example of a coach-built Chrysler Custom Imperial. Chrysler in that period was known not only for elegance but for performance, so this car combines it all. And next, we were featuring Duesenberg this year, had a lovely speaker today, and winning the Duesenberg class this year is a fantastic 1933 Duesenberg Model SJ, convertible berline with coachwork by the Walter Murphy Company, Rob and Jeannie Hilarities from Visalia, California. Beautiful example, supercharged car. One of 300, I think we learned today, 81 Duesenbergs that are still left out of a production of about 480. So they had a great survival rate. This car spent time in France and Europe, and now it's here with us in Murphy's. And next, in our American and European Classics Closed, a 1932 Nash Model 970 four-door sedan brought to us by Gary Marchetti from Vista, California. This was an example of when Nash went very much upmarket in the early 1930s and built beautiful, beautiful cars. A long way from home, all the way from Vista in San Diego area. And in our Pierce Arrow category, we always get great support from the Pierce Arrow Society. This is a 1924 Pierce Arrow Model 33, Series 33, four-passenger touring, belonging to Tony Wollison from San Jose, California. Beautiful example. You can always spot a Pierce Arrow because they molded the headlights into the front fenders. This car is also fresh from a win on the lawn at Pebble Beach. Beautiful car. And next in the Packard category is a 1937 Packard V12 model 1507 coupe belonging to Jeff Mahaley from San Leandro, California. This is a whole lot of car for two people, plus two more in the rumble seat, but the pinnacle of Packard luxury in the 1930s. You know, it's a real pleasure to see people putting the original era colors back on these cars, and this car just says 1937, so congratulations. Now we had fun this year because we had two one-off prototype cars come to this show, equally rare. They're both one of one. They were products that were meant for possibly greater production but never achieved that. And here we have a 1957 Ghia Dart 400, which is brought to us by John White from Sacramento. We probably recognize Ghia from the firm Dual Ghia, but it's essentially a car which has Chrysler, American underpinnings, and beautiful Ghia coachwork. This was the ultimate design study in the use of a tail fin. A really rare car. It's been hidden for decades, and here it is for the first time out in the light today. This car has not been touched since 1958. It's completely original. Thank you. And next, this year we had great support from the Corvair Club. And first place in the Corvair class is a 1966 Chevrolet Corvair belonging to Wesley Nicholas of Folsom, California. Late production Monza-style Corvair. Advanced in their time and still beautiful to this day. Next, this year, we've had great support from the Nash Club through the years, and this year they chose to bring us the early short wheelbase Rambler Americans and original Ramblers. We got a great turnout. It was a fun display, and winning the Rambler class is a 1962 Rambler American Coupe brought to us by Ken Norman from Santa Maria, California. Nash and Rambler were American Motors, were a pioneer in making compact American cars what they became, and it's been fun to see them all here. And wooden-bodied cars, beautiful thing, a 1947 Chevrolet Fleetmaster station wagon belonging to Convy and Carol Omek from Granite Bay, California. Beautiful example of an all-wood station wagon. And I hope you got a chance to look at it and its companion piece, which was up in the trailer group, which was an early Bolus trailer. So beautiful display, beautiful car, really fun to have it here this year, and we thank you for bringing it. You know, at Ironstone, we love to recognize cars that have not been restored, but merely very, very carefully maintained. And a perfect example in our earlier unrestored class is this 1950 Oldsmobile 98 fastback sedan, brought to us by Larry Camuso from San Jose, California. GM experimented with fastback styling, and to find it in an Oldsmobile 98 is extremely rare, and to find one that has not been touched since 1950 is even more rare. Beautiful example. And in the later unrestored class, our first prize goes to a 1964 Buick Riviera, owned by Dan Bryan from West Point, California. you know, Riviera was a personal sport coupe that was a huge success for Buick, and this was the car that launched it all. And what a beautiful example, and so beautifully preserved, wearing its original 1964 paint and interior chrome and everything. Beautiful example. And these are always fun in our smaller car class. First prize to a 1962 Volkswagen 23-window bus brought to us by Richard Grace from St. Helena, California, complete with all the trimmings, ready to accept luggage on top, beautifully restored. These cars have really caught on with collectors, and this one is a true prize. Beautiful example. Next, as we move through American production cars, in our class through 1954, our first prize goes to a 1954 Oldsmobile Super 8 two-door sedan belonging to Rick and Sandy Sanguinetti from Windsor, California. Beautiful car. 1954 was among the heydays of Oldsmobile when they were the mark within General Motors that they used to experiment new features and a little bit more horsepower and really an exciting vehicle. So, beautiful car. Next, moving a bit later, we have a 1956 Ford Fairlane two-door hardtop. Paul and Sharon Cuff from Angels Camp brought this beautiful example. I think they have friends here, so. Just a bit of trivia, Ford used the Fairlane name for years. It was the home of Henry Ford in Detroit, Fairlane. And we had a special category for Chevrolets from what they call the Tri-5, 1955 through 57, and the first prize goes to a 1957 Chevrolet Nomad belonging to Galen Clockevold from Auburn, California. This was Chevrolet's adventure into making a station wagon that looked like something more than a people mover, and they truly succeeded. The Nomad, I don't think, has ever been equaled in adding style to a station wagon, and this is just a beautiful example. And again, moving a bit later, there is a 1966 Cadillac Coupe de Ville belonging to Christopher Slater from San Jose, California. Beautiful example of Cadillac's signature hardtop. They used the name Coupe de Ville for generations, it seemed. This car, I believe, is also largely unrestored and just a beautifully maintained example. And adding some muscle to the process, we move into the muscle car category with a 1966 Pontiac GTO convertible belonging to Randy Lidholm and Dee Dee Mason from Lodi, California. I don't think that's right. I think Chevrolet. Anyway, we may have that location wrong, but wherever it came from, it's a gorgeous example of a 1966 Pontiac GTO. Aren't you from Chevrolet? Chevrolet. Chevrolet. Thank you for bringing that car all this way. And next in the Corvette category, America's Sports Car, Chevrolet Corvette. First in class, a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette, owned by the Reinertsons from San Mateo, California. Beautiful example. What a wonderful rumble to the exhaust in that car. As we move into our European and British sports cars, we found ourselves in a place where we had to give two best-in-class trophies. And the first of those is a 1973 Citroën SM Coupe Gary Marquis from Chico, California. Beautiful example of French coachwork and the utility of a number of different products. An extremely complex car. Citroëns were known for their innovations, and this car is loaded. And what a handle to restore one of these, and a beautiful, beautiful example. Thank you. Citroën Maserati. We have a co-winner in that class, but we're going to go a trifle out of order and get back to that. In our Mercedes class, always get good support from Mercedes owners and from Mercedes of Stockton, who normally bring us some cars to look at, but they're low on inventory. But anyway, in our Mercedes class, first prize, a 1960 Mercedes-Benz 220 SE convertible, William Brooks from Santa Cruz, California. Beautiful example. And moving back to Class R, our co-winner in this class, tied for first place. It's a 1949 Alfa Romeo 6C 2500 SS. Beautiful, beautiful example of luxury Alfa Romeo from Italy. 1949, Joe and Beth Hurwitz from Piedmont, California. And moving to Jaguar. First prize in the Jaguar category is this 1969 Jaguar E-Type. Roadster, David Shields from Loomis, California. Has to be one of the most beautifully designed sports cars that ever came out of England in the 1960s. Just beautifully styled, precious mechanically. And another British mark from Austin Healey. Best in class is a 1963 Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprite. Naomi and Brian Bliven from San Jose, California. Beautiful, beautiful example of this. The smaller size, but by no means diminutive, Austin Healey. Beautiful car. Moving to our MG category, we're in a British mood here. It's a 1960 MGA convertible belonging to Ken and Allison Tucker from Folsom, California. Beautiful example. MG brought the idea of British sports cars to the United States after the Second World War, and this is a beautiful example as they matured through the years. And again, sticking with the British, in our Triumph category, here is a 1959 Triumph TR3 Roadster. Patrick Galvin of Folsom, California, brought this car to us. Beautiful example. And next, moving to Germany, in our Porsche category, here is a 1960 Porsche 356B Coupe. Alan Kearns from Pleasant Hill, California. These early these early German Porsches have really caught on. And I grew up with a cousin down the street who father had two of these, and I got to spend a lot of time in these cars, and they are little absolute pieces of jewelry. Wonderful cars. All right, moving on to our Model A Ford category. We're just tickled to have this car here. This is a 1929 Ford Model A mail truck, done beautifully, and I'm going to murder your name, but it looks like Bob Guimarin. I stand nicely corrected, thank you. Absolutely authentic down to the panels on the side, just a fun vehicle to see here. Moving next to Ford Thunderbird. Our Thunderbird category, the first prize winner is a 1957 Ford Thunderbird belonging to James Guthrie from Livermore, California. We've enjoyed support for the Thunderbird Club in the South Bay since this event began 25 years ago, and we appreciate their attendance in this beautiful example here this year. Thank you. In our commercial category, there is a beautiful 1928 Dodge panel truck brought by Lance and Nancy Wilson of Bella Vista, California, complete with the grocery logo, as I recall. Oh, laundry, pardon me, laundry, my mistake. It's laundry time. Beautiful example. How business was done in 1928. And in our motorcycle category, with a lot of human power coming up here so it doesn't drive us crazy, the winner in our motorcycle class, a 1958 Ariel 650, Jerry and Patty Meadows from Sparks, Nevada. And next, we don't have the vehicle here, but in our vintage trailer category, I'll get to that. Moving on to the De Tomaso class. First prize, a 1975 De Tomaso Pantera, Andrew Duofola from Aptos, California. Italian coachwork, American power, these cars mean business, and we're thrilled to always have a big group of them here at Ironstone. We'll hold up the next car for just a minute. Getting back to the vintage trailers, I hope you all had a chance to go up and look. It's so rare when you get a combination of an unrestored original vehicle pulling an unrestored original trailer. And in this case, we had a 1933 covered wagon trailer, one of the earliest manufacturers, pulled by a 1929 Hudson, both of which came out of the barn, and it was such a pleasure to see those. We have an award for them. If we don't find them here on stage, we'll come up. There you are. Thank you for bringing this. What a pair. Those the car and trailer were just a time machine. So. We're done. We have a special award for a special car. And we created something this year which we're calling the Creative Spirit Award. This 1949 Cadillac, which began life as a Fleetwood formal car, has been a 20-plus year creation of its owner, Robert Schwartz from Martinez, with styling cues from Franklin Hershey, styling cues from Fleetwood, and a whole lot of styling cues from Robert Schwartz himself. And we're delighted to present him with an award and thank him. This is the car's premier outing, and we hope you had a good time with it.
I think it's a regular class.
Oh, just a regular?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move into some of our special awards. The first of which we have named the FFA Award to honor the many FFA volunteers that we have here. And this is a pretty exciting card with which to do that. It's a 1952 Seata 208 SC Spider Corsa by Bertone. Made for track, made for the road. This was the personal car of Mr. Bertone when it was new, and it's an extremely rare car. Fun car, has a lovely rumble to it. Dave and Susan Buchanan from Menlo Park, thank you so much for bringing this car. And to honor our 4-H volunteers and all our young 4-Hers, we just had to bring back this wonderful 1929 Ford Model A mail truck. Bob Gwimmerin from Valley Springs, California. You know, you can just picture this car running around the backcountry of Calaveras and all the other counties locally here, delivering the mail, probably on time in those days. So anyway, thank you so much for bringing this car. The next award is to honor our many Ironstone sponsors who are so generous and supporting our efforts here and supporting the youth in the activities that we help them with. And to honor those sponsors, what better car than this 1932 Chrysler Custom Imperial Model CL convertible sedan, coachwork by LeBaron, the Lorenzo Nannini family from Pine Grove, California. Beautiful Chrysler. Thank you for helping us, and thank you for honoring our sponsors by bringing this car. We love to present an award to the best unrestored car that we found on the field today. And the choice by the judges was this 1950 Oldsmobile fastback sedan. Larry Camuso from San Jose, who has an eye for unrestored cars. And here's one of the greatest. So once again, the 1950 Oldsmobile 98 deemed the best unrestored car on the field. Thank you very much. Next award goes to what was deemed by the judges to be the most elegant closed car on the field. And the winner this year is the 1937 Packard 12 Coupe, model 1507, owned by Jeff Mahaley from San Leandro, California. Understated colors, elegant design, Packard's finest hour, and by the way, Jeff did the majority of the work on this car personally. And yet, you think you can't compete with restorers at Pebble Beach? This took second best in class in the Packard group this year. And we're very proud of him and the car, and we feel it is truly elegant. Thank you. Our award in the open car category, and finally, is for the most exciting open car. And let me tell you, in 1925, when you were in this car, you were excited. And we're excited today. The 1925 Lancia Lambda Model 4 Roadster, Paul Tullius from Chico, California. What a spectacular. These cars were so technologically advanced for 1925 that if you get a chance to look under the hood, you'll just be amazed. They just revolutionized design. And here it is for our pleasure, and we thank you. All right, best of show. Once again, probably one of the most unique cars we've had at Ironstone in our 25 years. This is the 1957 Ghia Dart 400, which was developed by Dual Motors and Ghia, and using Chrysler underpinnings and Chrysler design cues. This car was a showstopper in the 1957 show circuit, and it was not intended to be sold. Dual Motors hoped that they could find a backer to possibly put it into production or do other things with it, but someone saw this car at the New York Auto Show in 1957 and opened up his checkbook and signed a check and said, "I have to own this car." And he did, and he owned it for a number of years. Don't run off, John. I might even tell the truth. So, anyway, it went into the original owner's ownership for a number of years. Then it went to a noted collector. I think some of you might bought auto parts from the Cantor brothers. And finally, the car came loose after being hidden away for decades and found its way to Sacramento in John White's Ram's Head collection. And it is truly a spectacular car. Has a highway hi-fi, which is built into the dashboard, which plays little 16 2/3 RPM records. Has air conditioning, which was unusual for the day. And it is here. It has not been touched, except for a lot of hard work, since it was partially repainted for the original purchaser because he thought it had been scratched up a little bit in transport. And here it sits decades and decades later at Ironstone, and we're delighted to call it our best of show for our 25th anniversary show. Congratulations, John. You know, we have another award, and it's called the Friend of the Ironstone Concours. And we're going to give it to the most professional and hardworking fellow, and also the most modest, because he's too busy directing traffic to even come up here and let us embarrass him with an award. But many of you may have met through the years Larry Ringland. And Larry is the man who is responsible for the building and maintaining of this entire facility. And these lawns are his children, and every tree and shrub. And he has been a friend of this event since 1997 when we started down by the lake. We didn't even have this beautiful amphitheater. It hadn't been built. We just had the small grass area. And I remember we went to Larry Ringland and said, "Can you green up that hillside down there just a bit and mow it, and we could bring some cars there." "Oh, I can do that." And that's been his motto since 1997. If we ask something, his response is, I can do that. So in absentia, because he's out working, but Larry Ringland, he drives the dirtiest pickup truck on the grounds, and he is truly a friend of Ironstone, and especially a friend of the Ironstone Concours. So we thank Larry, and we'll find him to give him his award. So, and you know, that said, you know, none of us would be here were it not for the vision of Gail and John Coates. Yes. This property was the hay station ranch. Hay was grown here, horses were tethered here when this was part of the route to the Comstock lode over the mountains. It's 1,200 acres. They had a vision, and here we are today, each and every one of us benefiting from that vision. So we just can't say enough. They are troopers, they are devoted, they only know how to give back, and thank you, John and Gail. And with that, we thank you, each and every one of you, for being here. And we look forward, September 24th, I'm told, is the 4th Saturday next year, and we'll be here, and we hope you'll be here. And it's an honor to have each and every one of you and each and every one of your cars, and every car that comes to Ironstone is a winner. Thank you very much.